Hello, and we are live with Caroline Sanderson for the Courageous Leaders Club. Welcome, Caroline. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, Joanna. How are you? You are absolutely welcome.
Thank you. So just do a quick introduction and then we'll get into it, because it really is such an honor to have your time here today. And I know the value you're going to bring is going to be epic for the people watching. And I'm going to read
No
this.
pressure.
No pressure. I know you, so I know it's going to be epic. So Caroline is the director of the multi-award-winning Ego Hair Salon, and is also Salon Jedi coach, known as the Salon Jedi, as I know you more of. So you not only master transforming salons, you actually help transform the owners as well, because you're NLP trained and you help them with their mindset. So your results that you give them are absolutely transformational. Caroline is also a #1 best-selling author, which this came out. So we'll talk a little bit about this as well. And Caroline, you just won the most incredible awards. We've got Creative Head's Most Wanted Business Thinker, twice you've won that, Scottish Hairdresser of the Year, Best Front of House, and British Entrepreneur of the Year. And I know, isn't it recently you just won a massive one as well?
Yeah, we just won Salon of the Year at the British Hairdressing Business Awards. So yeah, that was a big one as well. Yeah.
That's a fantastic one. And you kind of go, a salon in Inverness is winning that, taking the stage on that side. So hence why you're here as the courageous leader.
Flying the flags for the Highlands of Scotland.
I think it's wonderful. And Caroline and I met because we're part of the incredible John Asras Mastermind. So we've been working together for nearly a year, supporting each other in our businesses. And this is why it's so important to bring Caroline to the stage, because Caroline, for me, completely represents courageous leadership and inspirational leadership. And before we delve into your story, Caroline, I'd just like to know, first of all, what does courageous leadership, or just being courageous, mean to you?
Being courageous to me is, the book by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
That is, it's like my mantra, feel the fear and do it anyway, because I would actually say, even though, I'm here on Courageous Leader, I am that kind of person that has a lot of fear that goes on. I mean, that I've had major fear with public speaking. We can come to that later, but I'm definitely more introvert and a bit more scared of delving into things. But it's that feel the fear and do it anyway. That's what courageous means to me, is when you're not letting the fear hold you back, because we do all have our fears in business, and as leaders, we have our fears. We're human, but it's feeling that fear and doing it anyway. That would be my kind of mantra around that.
Yeah, the moment I read that book, I was like, okay, this is it. This needs to be the new saying going forward. But for a lot of people, you can take that on board, feel the fear and do it anyway. But then a lot of people will ask the question, but how do you do it? How do you take that first step forward? What would you say for you has been a driving force for you to go, do you know what? I can move past the fear.
I guess it depends as well why you're moving past the fear. What is the reason that you want to do the thing that you're fearful of? So it's that desire of what's on the other side, of getting out of your comfort zone, and what's on the other side that's going to be strong enough to pull you to do what it is that you have to do. So for example, I'll give you an example. I always had a fear, like a massive fear of public speaking. That was like my biggest fear as a child. I was a very quiet child, scared to speak up, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, terrified. And I once got asked to, after I won Most Wanted Business Thinker, I got asked to speak in front of 350 people. And it was like my biggest fear coming to life. Yet, weirdly enough, I knew that I was going to get asked, because I'd won Business Thinker, that you would get asked, and I wanted to get asked, and I manifested to get asked. And then when I did get asked, I was like, why have I done that? But it was, what do you get out of it at the end? And really it was, what the push to do it was, obviously I wasn't going to give up that opportunity, but also my story, which maybe we'll get to as we go along, was very much about, turning things, being in a really low place and turning things around. And I knew that I had to get that message out. So I knew the opportunity to speak in front of 350 people in my industry and share my story. It was about, the pool of doing that was about the people, and it wasn't about me. And I knew I had to overcome that. So I joined Toastmasters. That's how terrified I was of public speaking. But even in the Toastmasters room, I was terrified, and there would probably be about 10 people in the room, and I was just like, you know, in the dry voice and the shaking. But it was the drive of knowing what was going to happen at the end of it, if that makes sense. And I knew that there was people that my story would help,
Yeah.
and also to get over myself. I didn't want to be held back by this fear. I wanted to I didn't want to, you know, too scared to speak up, too scared to grab opportunities. I just didn't want that for my life anymore. So that pull became stronger than the fear.
And I love that. Yeah, not defining yourself by fear.
The
Don't
fear
let that
was still there, but you know, feel the fear
Yeah.
and do it anyway. It was still there. And when I did get up and speak on stage at that event, I have to tell you, so I got up on stage, and when I did my practice, it was like, got up in the room and I practiced, and I thought, did quite good, I knew my speech, I knew it all. When I got up, there was a part at the beginning that I was sharing a little story. It wasn't my story, it was like a little anecdote. And because it was a story that I was reciting rather than it was my stuff, if that makes sense, there was a bit in it that I just went blank, and I did have that moment. I mean, my legs were trembling, and I think I was doing that whole thing, you know, and your mouth is dry, and I was so terrified. And I had this moment on the stage where that fight or flight, like I literally felt that moment of, Caroline, run off the stage, don't do it, just run, just go. And then this other voice that kicked in, it was like I got mad with myself for even considering that for a second. Like I considered it for a second of just going, I can't do this, and getting off. But when it came into my mind, the thought of it was like, I got mad at myself for even thinking that. So what I did, I actually sort of took a step back. I said, just give me a second. I took a step back for a second, took a deep breath. And this was going on in my head at the time. And I got angry with myself, and I stepped forward, and I just kind of fast forwarded the story bit and just got into my stuff, the stuff that I knew, and did my presentation. And it was absolutely overwhelming when I finished. It was that moment of vulnerability and just authenticity, and that, you know, everyone afterwards, like I was literally bombarded for the rest of the night and the day of people coming up, because they obviously seen how nervous I was, but I stepped back up and I did it rather than kind of running off. So that was my story of my first it wasn't even getting over the fear. It wasn't like I got through the fear.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that the fear had completely gone, but if you've done it once, you can do it again.
And you controlled the fear rather than the fear controlling you, which I think is fantastic. And you said about authenticity there and just being true to you and the vulnerability. And I just think that's so much about what courageous is being back in yourself, just being yourself. And I think sometimes business owners put so much pressure on themselves of what they think they should be, should say, how they should be perceived. And sometimes it's like, you can tell when it's not them.
Yeah.
It sounds like the minute you just relaxed and was like, this is me, that's when you had that moment.
Once you get into your own stuff and you're in your own place and you know what it is that you're saying, that's your stuff. You're just like, and you know, like you say, there's that fear, of course, isn't there? That fear of being judged. It's so huge in humans, this fear of being judged. But actually, the more that you're just, oh well, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I can give. Those of you, and that acceptance of, some of you will love it, some of you won't. I'm okay either way.
Yeah, I can handle it. Whatever happens,
Absolutely.
I can handle it. Yeah, which is great. Before we go to your story, because I do want to get there, there's something else you mentioned that I think is really important, and an important message for leaders and business owners is, I didn't make it about me. It was about the people listening and helping them. And what would you say, like, for me, the key learning, I remember when someone said, you know, human beings have a tendency to make it always about them. And then when I learned that, I really then noticed of how much I was like, oh my God, I'm making this about myself. Can you see how that shift in you, when you can make it about others, actually helps you find your courageous zone more when you realize it's not about you?
It's huge. It's a huge shift. And it's something that I see very clearly, because when you do have a fear, like, for example, public speaking, when I've had that in the past, that is the thing that is so obvious, that as soon as you stop worrying about the fear yourself, Caroline, it's not about you. This is a conversation I have with myself every time I go like live on stage. It would be, it's not about you, Caroline. It's about the people that are here. You can help them. Some of these people will be struggling like you were before. Get out there and help them. And when you flip it, that's what you're doing. You're getting out there because you're out of yourself and you're just thinking about serving and how can you serve and how can you help them. And it's, that heart-based kind of giving, that, it's, you're out of your own head, if that makes sense. You're just there serving rather than in your own head with all the fears of what might happen.
Definitely, because a lot of people say to me, Jo, how can you go live? How can you do these interviews? It's like, well, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about celebrating you. But then, as I said to you, the outcome for this interview is to help people feel inspired to step into their courageous zone and, move through those fears they may have to be the leader they, I work with a lot of people where they know they can be this leader. They can feel it inside, but they just don't know what's stopping them, like realize it. And this is like why we show up to help inspire. And that's why you show up for your audience as well.
Absolutely. And also as well, it's, and it's easy to kind of as well look at other people, put them on a pedestal and think, oh, look, they can do that. And almost like as if you can't. So you're looking at, say, for example, like yourself, Jo, going live and thinking that everyone that goes live is completely comfortable with it. You forget that there's nerves there as well sometimes, I'm sure the first time you went live, there was nerves there and you're probably all of those things are still there, but it's that thing of feel the fear and do it anyway. And it's just doing it. So when somebody's looking at someone else doing something and assuming, oh, it's okay for you and you find it easy and all that kind of stuff, well, it's not always necessarily. Yes, some people just love it and they find it effortless, but others, well, like myself or possibly you sometimes, is we're showing up for other people and it doesn't mean that it's always 100% comfortable for us, but we'll do it anyway. And it's just, and the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Oh, completely, because you're just stacking the evidence in your brain that you can do this.
Absolutely.
And it's like that thing, like the first time you've done it, it's like, well, I've done that now. First time is over. It's always going to be a bit easier from now on, which that's worked for me massively. I really want to go into your story now. You've got an incredible story of how you turned your life around. Are you happy to share some of that? Because that really signifies the courage it took for you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my story is one of getting into, like I've hit my rock bottom moment. In comparison to some other people's rock bottom moment, it may not look it. In comparison to others, it may seem worse. It's the law of relativity, whatever you put to it. But I can share. So it was back in 2009, my salon up in Inverness in the Highlands of Scotland, as we said. It's just a small little salon. And I remember this particular day in the staff room where I'm looking at this gentleman. He's sitting across from me. We're in our tiny little staff room. I'll never forget this day. And I'm looking at him and I was thinking to myself, crikey, you don't look older than 19 years old, yet you have the future of my business in your hands. I was waiting for him to turn around and tell me, yes, Miss Sanderson, we can sell your business. You can get out and you can get some money and pay off debts. No, it didn't work out like that. He basically told me my business was worthless. It wasn't making any profits. And he was my last chance that I thought, oh, I'll sell it. So we were literally, I was literally at that rock bottom moment. I was 8 months pregnant. I was about to go on maternity leave when my manager of 4 years left one day, just went AWOL, no communication, nothing, with a stolen client list under her arm, and went to rent a chair across the road. And we were the two breadwinners in the business. We were the two that were running the column and taking it over. And all I had left was 2 young graduate stylists who I trained, and I had trained them well, but they'd never run a column before. And I was just in that moment of where I had to make that choice. Was I going to, and I was in debt, up to my eyeballs as well. I'd gone over the VAT threshold without realizing it. I was about to become a single mum to 3 children in 4 weeks' time. And I had to make that choice. I just thought, in my head, I had that choice moment where I thought, have you actually done everything that you can to turn this business around? And then I realized that I hadn't really. I hadn't done any studying in marketing. I hadn't given it. There was something in me that I knew deep down I hadn't given it my best shot. I'd turned up and I'd done my thing, but I didn't know anything about marketing. And that was when I made a decision. Something came into my head and I just made that decision. It was like quite it was almost like nothing else to lose. And I made that decision of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to turn the business around. And if I can't turn it around, at least I've given it my best shot. That was what I was thinking. At least I've given it my best shot. If I turn it around and I fail, then I can walk away. But to walk away now, when there's something inside me, I just knew I hadn't given it my best shot. And that's what I decided to do. And I literally spent the 4 weeks before going in to have my third child, because I knew the date that I was going in, etc. We had 4 weeks where I trained the team, I put systems in place, I like stock systems, everything, all the notes in the system. When I was doing a client, I'd speak to them about, the client's hair and put all these notes in. So I basically, I stacked the odds more in our favor of succeeding than not. And you know what? I look back and I thank, sometimes we think life's, as they say, life's happening to you, where it was actually happening for me, because that was the day that I realized systems, putting systems into the salon. And when I came back after maternity leave, we didn't lose any money. In fact, we had grown a bit. With me not being there, the other one not being there, we'd actually gone up a little in the takings, because these young graduates that I trained really well, but hadn't had the opportunity on the floor, they just rose to the occasion. They were just phenomenal. And they would kind of a little bit of friendly competition with each other, because we were both at the same level. And they just, and that was when I realized, when I came back after having my third child, that I never went back on the floor full time after that. I only went back 1 day a week, and I realized, hold on, this is more than me. If I come back and I just take all the customers, then they're losing the ability to really grow. As I was seeing them shine, it was like, wow, this is what I want. I've done my 20 years on the floor or whatever it was. I want to grow the team. I want to grow them and help them fill their columns. And that was how it started. And then from there, we just started to grow. By the next year, 2000, because that was in 2009, by 2010, that was when I started Salon Jedi, because I kind of made a pact with myself back then that the knowledge that I would get, I would share. It was almost like, a pact with the universe, with whatever you want to call it. And it was, if I get the knowledge to turn this around, I will share the knowledge. And that was when I founded Salon Jedi in 2010. I created the first ever Facebook marketing course for salon owners back in 2010. So that was my story of how I kind of turned it around. And then, the rest, as you said, is all the other stuff that I've gone on to achieve since then.
Which, just for me, that courage of just going, do you know what? I can look at myself and know I haven't given it the best shot. Because as you all know, with all the mindset work that you and I both work in, it can be very easy to go into a victim mindset and poor me, or find excuses or blame the world around you for what's happened, where you are like, no, hang on, what's my responsibility here? What choice do I have? And it seems like that's what you were able to then help you propel forward to make change.
Joanna, that's a really good point, actually. And that's one of the main parts of, when you talk about courageous, was that day in the staff room when all that happened. Part of the decision that I made was that I took full accountability. That word, I took full accountability, and that's bravery in its own. Rather than blaming, I did not blame from that day. Didn't blame the manager for leaving. That's not her fault. There's obviously a reason. I look back and I think, oh my goodness me, what a terrible man. Listen. I didn't have the things in place that I did now. She probably should have left sooner. But I took full accountability. It was no blame. It wasn't, oh, she left me and anger at that or anything. It was my chance to, draw a line, and I'm taking full accountability of where I am now, and full accountability for turning this around. I can, I have the choice. I can turn it around. But that's a great point. That was bravery in itself, of actually looking at yourself and going, crikey, I've done this. I've created this.
And that's, for me, is leadership is responsibility. So be able to own that. And then what I'm hearing, I don't know how familiar you are with John Maxwell, when you said like you came back and you were like, oh my God, I now see this is about growth for my team. That's what he would say is a level 4 leader. When you realize that you don't need to be on the floor driving all the results now, you can actually now start growing your team. So how have you empowered your team and installed that sort of courageous, being them to be able to know they can trust themselves and move through the fear? How have you enabled that culture to allow that from your team as well?
I think over the years, it's really been a learning curve over the years about building a team, and made so many mistakes. I'm not familiar with the gentleman that you said there, and a lot of it has been just learning by mistakes along the way, really, to be honest. And and when you talk about a culture, as I just started to really create a culture, what I understood was, or what I actually became to understand, I remember it was a light bulb moment for me, was about knowing what your values are, knowing where you're going with your business, who you are as a business, you know, your mission statement, your purpose, what you wanted to do, who you wanted to serve and how, etc. And then attracting the team that are aligned with your values. And I'd realized sometimes before it was attracting and hiring based on skill set alone rather than through values.
Yeah.
And when I realized, that was kind of like a light bulb moment for me, that I realized that, oh, wow, because before that, when you don't, it's very much reactory and thinking, oh, have I done something wrong, or why are they behaving like that? Is it me? Is it the business? What is it? And you're trying to change things to fit other people's values, rather than, these are our values, this is who we are, we would love to get you on board. And it's just been years of kind of leading by example. We do so much mindset training within our company. That's a huge part of what we do. NLP, mindset events, like some of my team have come, you know, flown down to London with us and helped at our salon events and mindset events and things like that. And it's very much part of our values is self-development and supporting the team in their training, support, you know, just so much education. Just encouraging them to, like, we understand fear, so encourage them just to step out again in baby steps, stepping out of their comfort zone. So, you know, there's certain areas when you first qualify, like you might be scared in doing gents haircuts, or you might be scared of recommending retail because you've got a fear of selling and all that kind of stuff. And it's just understanding these things and coaching them through it, and bringing them out of them thinking the same thing as we talked about before, bringing them out of their I'm scared, and turning it around so they can actually see, if I don't do this, I'm not serving the clients. And the team we have that high values that they want to serve the clients. So once they get out of their head to go, hold on, it's not about me and my fear of selling. I'm serving my client by recommending this, you know, home care, whatever it is. So you know, we do a lot of work in that. And have really built a strong, mindful salon culture within the salon.
And that's what's wonderful. And that's what you're taking now to so many salon owners. What are you seeing? Because I know you're so passionate about the mindset work. So in terms of the mindset work you've done for yourself, but, you know I saw recently you actually are helping to save people's lives with this mindset work. Let's give some examples of the transformations you're seeing where people are actually not focused on all the doing and all the skills, but they're actually focusing on their mind and learning more how to use their mind. What are you seeing happening?
Yeah, it's, you know, like I think I posted up somewhere that when you are speaking to clients and then they're saying, actually, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your work, and you've saved my life, and you're sort of thinking, really? Because you know you want to help people, but you didn't realize that it would have such a powerful impact. And one of the things that I did, well, there's a couple of different things, is starting with baby steps. So I did a 5-day challenge. It's completely free, and it was a mindset challenge that anyone can go into the Facebook group, and they can go in, and inside the units there is tools. I call them my magic mind tools. Okay, so the magic being an acronym. So there's 5 units in there, and just little baby steps of tools that they can use each day that they can slot into their lives. So it's not like a huge training session on deep mindset. It's just something that people can put their teams into as well. That's like baby steps of tools, even just like the Take 6 that John Assaraf does, you know, just even the breathing and the importance of breathing and the importance of how we speak to ourselves. How do we speak to ourselves in an empowering or disempowering way? And just giving them little tips. And that was the idea of the Magic Mind Challenge, was just do this for 5 days and see how you feel at the end of it. That was it. You know, just, you know, your team, take your team in, anyone can go in. It's completely free, because what we did, we just left it up there. So there's still people going into it now. I can share it with you if you want later on, if anybody wants to go in. But and then it's like their teams go in, so it's not like a big, huge pressure of a deep training course or anything like that. It's just use these tools. And then what I found was people at the end of the week were going, wow, I noticed a difference even just with that. What else do you have? And then it would be like, well, we were running this other course. Maybe you want to come and do this other course. So then they would do that. And then it turned out that we ended up creating this, it sort of grew organically, this, we call it the Mindset, Magic and Miracles training. And it goes more into fears and human behavior and archetypes and all that kind of stuff, but understanding our blocks and who we are and why we behave, how we behave. And it's just had such phenomenal feedback that people are saying that it's making such a difference. So you're creating work that you love and you love helping people, but when you know that it's making such a difference as well, it's quite something for sure.
And I think that's the biggest reward. And, similar to you, I do a lot of mindset work with leaders. And unfortunately, too much the training, and I think the way the world's changed has changed the conversation around, okay, we need to understand our minds more. And being the big learning I had when someone said to me, Jo, your mind is a tool for you to use. It's not a tool that's in control of you. So learn how to use it, and then you can then have the life that you want. And that was my moment of, oh my God, okay, so I need to just go and learn how to do this properly. And that's what I give back. And I think now I'm seeing more business owners and leaders are like, it's not just about the skills of a leadership. We need to help the minds of leaders so they really know who they are, know what they stand for, and know how, because everything starts with the way we think, understand their thinking to then be able to transform their results. So I think it's just so great now that this conversation's happening and so many more people are opening to understanding how to use the mind.
Absolutely. It's, you see it way more now than you used to. And in fact, back in 2009, when I was telling you about the story, was the time that I started getting into the law of attraction, and The Secret had come out. That was when I first met John Assaraf and that kind of stuff. And I started practicing this mindset and law of attraction stuff. And I, knowing what I know now, I study more sort of bigger universal laws now, but it was this law of attraction and putting it into your life and then going, oh, that worked. I've manifested this. And then other times it'd be like, this stuff doesn't work. This stuff doesn't work. Well, load of rubbish. But I stuck with it and just learned. And it was almost like I just made that decision. At some point, I made the decision along the way that this is my life. This is like, I just knew that it was going to be a part of my life going forward, because even when sometimes when people are doing that kind of stuff, or the thinking and they're trying to learn, and they still have their bad days. That's the important thing as well, is we still have our tough days. One of the biggest things I learned was not trying to just go for that one-sided life all the time. It's, we live in a perfectly balanced universe. There are good days, there are bad days, but it's all whatever meaning we put to it. What is a good day and what is a bad day? It's how we manage it and how we deal with it. I've gone off track there, whatever I was answering before.
No, it's lovely. And I've got literally a post-it note up on my wall going, it's okay not to be okay. You don't need to. And I do a lot of resilience training with leaders where I was like, the resourceful way to be is just to know that it's okay to not be okay and ask for help. And obviously for a leader to create that environment where the team can ask for help, and it doesn't go into any unresourceful kind of blame and gossip and toxicity. People feel they can just say, yeah, I just need a chat right now. I could do with some support.
Absolutely. We all have days like that.
Yeah.
Which is why we make great accountability partners, Joanna.
Yeah, we do. We hold each other accountable. And one thing I just wanted to share, because I just love this as well, incredible, like, I don't know how you found the time, like Caroline, you're a serial implementer and an inspiration for what you achieve and at the speed you achieve it at. And you also then wrote a book on top of running a salon, running your coaching business, and this came about. And I'd just love to share the story of the bet you did with the children that helped. We're talking about accountability, that held you accountable to get this book out.
Yes. So let me think, it was in lockdown. So it would have been, I think it was, let me think, May, June, July, August. Yeah. So it was May that we made this decision. I remember I was out for a walk with the children and I was talking about, I'm going to do this book. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to be a best-selling author within 3 months. And we did this bet. No, that you cannot do that. That's impossible. They were telling me, that's impossible, Mum. That's impossible. The affirmations. And I said, so I did a bet with them. I said, okay, then. I said, great parent that I am. I did how much? So I did a bet with them, and that I was going to be a best-selling author by 3 months. And this would have been the end of August. And I was a week late but I did become the best-selling author, 7 times best-selling author, 7 categories. But I was a week late. But so they won the bet. However, they did win the bet because I was a week late. However, it did make them realize, whoa, actually, that is quite something that you were able to do that. They thought it was impossible. They didn't think, well, you might be a week or two late. They just thought there was no chance that was going to happen. But yeah, that.
Congratulations. And I know you're thinking about book 2 now as well. But just on that note, because you've got a lot of people at homeschooling at the moment with the parents, how with your children, seeing your entrepreneurial spirit, seeing how you achieve what you do, how you've moved through your fears, what can you see that they're learning from you?
So, as much as we'd like to, as much as you'd like to think that when I'm doing all the mindset stuff that, that completely rubs off on the children all the time. Well, it doesn't, because you're competing with, their bits of technology and their worlds that they live into, but you try and make it rub off on them. My oldest daughter, she's 19 and she actually works with me now. So she does social media marketing and she's learning that. She's learning all that side of it. So she even and you know what's great as well? Like she transcribes my training videos. So when I'm doing the mindset, magic and miracles and stuff, she transcribes them all and turns them into reports. And then she's messaging me going, "Oh my goodness, Mom. Look, and so she's learning as she's going along and she's practicing. So that's wonderful." Then my son, he is into what's that called? This gaming. Fortnite.
Yeah.
Okay. So with NLP techniques, I helped him to get into the semi-final of this huge competition. Let me quickly tell you the story about this. So we did. I did NLP with them to get him into just to get to the next level. It wasn't to get to the final. It was just to get to the next level. Then he did it. He was like, "Whoa." So we visualized it. We did all the stuff. He was like, "Oh, that worked." So then he got into the semi-final. Then we did it again, and we got him into the semi-final. Did I say that? No, quarterfinals, then into semi-finals. So I got him into the semi-finals, then it was like, oh, we'll try it again for getting into the final. And then he never told me that, he just went and did it and he never said, so we didn't do it again and he never got through. And we're always like, I wonder if we'd continue to do that in the process. So here's an interesting thing, and this is what I love, is there's some other competition coming up this weekend. So he was speaking to me last night and he was like, oh, there's a big competition coming up. Yeah. Maybe you have to do some of that NLP stuff on me again, Mum. And to me, that's just him being open to it. And I love that, the fact that this teenage boy is open to it and up to it. And that's as much as I can ask for. I just love the fact that he's open to it. And then, of course, my youngest as well. Yeah, easier probably to try and, talk about that stuff to her. So she... it's funny because when I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but when we were going out on walks in lockdown, some of the things that I would do is to have little moments where I would teach them things, that just little things. I would let them, I do deals and trade-offs with them that I would they would let me just teach them a little mini bit. So I would teach them about selling this one time. And then my daughter ended up selling me. It was so funny. She's only 11, selling me all the reasons why I should buy her buy her a new Mac. Well, Mum, because if you do, then you can borrow it if yours ever doesn't work. And then and she gave me all this list, and I just thought, I love that. I love the fact that they're picking up on little things. This was our talks when we were walking. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent now. But yeah, that's.
Michelle's just popped up a question. So we're both NLP trained, and it's an incredible tool to have to help with your clients. Caroline, do you just want to give a quick explanation of what NLP is?
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, okay, try and do it. Yeah, give us a nugget.
So neuro-linguistics programming. So very, very quickly, it's reframing. So when we have a past experience or a past memory that then becomes a block or a fear or something that holds us back, we can, using neuro-linguistics programming, we can reframe that memory that we don't have that same emotional attachment to it that's holding us back. How's that? As quick as I possibly can.
That's a great nugget. And NLP also helps you with strategies, understand your strategies, your language patterns. So if you're interested, it's a great subject to go. It's Richard Bandler. Who's the other guy? It's Richard Bandler and Eric something else. If you look at Richard Bandler, Google that, you'd find a lot about NLP. If you're interested in exploring that, you'd find the majority of coaches are NLP trained, because it really it can give you a lot of shortcuts on how to get some results very, very fast. We've just got a couple of other comments, like Louise commented up here. Love that you're normalizing that nerves and fear are normal and are not something that ever goes away. It's about learning how to manage them and not let it control you. Thank you, Louise.
Yeah, and then I agree, Louise, absolutely.
Yeah. And then thanks, Lynn. Love this, Joan. Caroline, thank you for sharing. Lots of gold here. And although you're wearing silver, Caroline, the gold you've given today is absolutely fantastic. And I'd love to know, just to finish on, is all the things you know now, all the things that you've learned, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it have been?
All the things I know now, if I could go back and tell my younger self, I would say, oh crikey, what would I say? I would say, I'm trying to think of, there's lots of things. I'm trying to think of the main thing that I would say to myself. It would probably be, I know it's, as cliched or whatever, but it really is that believe in yourself. Because I think back then my younger self had a lot of doubts of what she was capable of. Yeah. A lot of doubts and insecurities, and that shy, and just everything. When I look back to my definitely somebody who didn't think that they could step into that courageous zone, if that makes sense. So it would definitely be to believe in myself that I could do it. That's I think that would be my main message.
And I think that's a brilliant message, and probably one similar I'd given to myself is back yourself, go for it.
Yeah.
Caroline, thank you so much. Is there anything before we close, anything final words that you want to share?
I can give you a couple of recommendations if that's okay. And one is for NLP, just as some people were talking about it, is David Shepherd. So if you check out David Shepherd, he is who I go to, my go-to person for NLP. Also, if anybody wants to check out the Magic Mind Facebook group that I talked about earlier, it was the 5-day Magic Mind Challenge, it's called, and it's on Facebook. It's open. You can just go in there. And I just want to say thank you very much to you, Joanna, for inviting me. You are an inspiration. You are the left brain to my right. When we do our accountability, you keep me accountable, and I think what you're doing is fantastic, and keep up with the fantastic work.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your time. It was absolute gold. And for those watching, we've got quite a few live with us. I really hope now that this has inspired you to step into your courageous zone. It's so worth it. It's so much fun when you do. Yeah, there's the fear as you're going through it, but the adrenaline and the outcome afterwards of feeling that progress and that growth in yourself, it's a gift that you can give yourself. So think about for the rest of the day, what is one thing maybe you could do? And as Caroline said, baby steps. What's that baby step courageous zone that you can move into today and really start opening up and being that best version of yourself? Thank you so much for being with us. Caroline, thank you so much. And I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.